there's such a lifestyle thing about how you want to be disturbed, right? And I mean, we do so much on our phones. I mean, funny you mentioned, do not disturb mode. I mean, these technical settings are great to bring up in the conversation about deep work and also teamwork. I mean,
Yeah.
especially because like our life partners communicate with us on the same devices, and it's like, well, there's a whole other love and family life happening that is parallel to, but not always connected to, what we're doing in the bits, in the microseconds of our digital work, money, hopefully lives.
Your iPhone actually defaults to, even when you put it in do not disturb mode, if you're not careful, it'll still say favorites are allowed to disturb you. So your iPhone even knows better than you do.
It's true. Well, if our wife needs us, it's probably better that we get that call rather than whatever BS we prattle on about on these phone calls. Much respect to us, of course.
Yes, and Apple knows that. they know that my wife is trying to reach me.
Well, it's funny. I mean, these devices sort of serve like the Bible did to early communities, or even something like rosary beads. It's like that thing that you kind of go like stroke and pray to when you like have downtime or like don't know what to do. I mean, it's a religious device in that it keeps the individual connected to their sense of the whole, but it's also very tribal, communal, like how people move in tandem and in sync.
It's definitely how people relate to each other. I mean, yeah, 1,000 years ago, if you wanted to relate to somebody, it would have to be through their religion. It would have to be, I am here, you're going to give me a place to live because we both believe in the same God. And
Wow, yeah.
you're gonna let me eat at your table because we both share the same God. And now we relate to each other because we both have glass in front of us that connects us through a network. Totally, it is.
Well, yeah, and I mean now it's like, there are various degrees of believers in the internet, right? You and I are maybe among the most fervent believers, but like I know I'm like ride or die for people I know from the internet who I haven't met in real life, but I feel like if we saw each other like post pandemic, like it'll just be. I mean, it's like you and it's like you and me. Like if I saw you in the street, it would be like, well, yeah, like we're best friends, and it's like it won't be like nice to meet you. I guess it'll just like put a face to a soul, or put a body to a voice.
There'd probably be some ceremony to it, but I know what you mean.
There would, yeah. We would get to decide, yeah. Well, I mean, handshakes are
Maybe not.
currently
Yeah.
off. They're up for
they're up for debate.
Questioning. They're
off the table.
We can bow. I like bow. Someone suggested getting rid of handshakes and just doing bowing like they do in Japan. I'm down with that.
Yeah. Well, you say that we are some of the most fervent believers in the internet, but we also have our skeptical side too. Like I know you've told me before that when you sleep, your phone's in another room. So you actually disconnect every night, which most people don't do. Most people actually use Twitter in bed.
And, I used to.
I have, like, as much as I think that the internet is the greatest invention ever, I am very cautious of what it means, because like I can't help but think I can't help but think, what we are in the early days of the internet right now. I mean, this is brand new. Who knows what it's going to be like in 200 years from now? Like, what are we setting ourselves up for? So I am very cautious every time and actually my wife is somebody who grounds me, because she is an environmental activist, and she lives very much in the real world more than I do. I am connected online more than she is. At least I feel comfortable being connected more than she does. It's kind of like this thing. Noah Smith actually, one of his most popular tweets ever was, people used to use the internet to escape reality.
Right.
Now they use reality to
Mm-hmm.
escape the internet, which is kind of a goofy, cheesy thing to say, but it's absolutely true. And
Yeah.
I feel like there are certain people who haven't made that crossover yet.
Yeah. Gary Vaynerchuk said something similar. It's like now the internet's the real world and the real world's the fake world, whereas before it was reversed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like the in-person, face-to-face world of human beings doing things. It's almost like a slow-mo version of what we know the world is by looking at the internet. The author Gore Vidal also says it's like he's very attuned to the American scream, and I think that's what we get all day on Twitter is like, let's see how the scream is doing today. Oh, so these 19 same kinds of suffering and infuriation survived the night, so they're still alive and going. Okay. This political party is, doing a bad thing. Okay. Oh, the good political party actually turns out they did a bad thing too. Okay. Okay, what else? What else? Yeah.
The American scream. Well, it's going to become a global scream soon.
Well, I mean, there's a global scream and there's an American scream, right?
Yeah.
You and I probably, and maybe me more than you, don't have much experience of looking at America as a distinct thing as an outsider,
Mm-hmm.
But whereas, like, if you listen, people's eyes all over the world are on America because really they know it's a romantic project.
That could implode any minute.
It's still very fragile. I mean, like raising a puppy. Like you really have to nail the first few foundational durations, unless they're going to be very badly behaved for a long, long time.
Yeah, America is like a puppy. That actually, America's probably like a bad dog at this point. But
Yeah, the puppy age might be. Well, I mean, I just learned today. Like, I mean, a lot of puppy owners they buy the puppy, and I heard this stat: 90% of owners give the puppy back because then it becomes a disobedient, unpleasant, violent thing that's no fun to be around because you didn't put in the
yeah,
8 hours a day of really hard training. Well, I mean,
no,
frankly, 15 hours a day.
no. Most people, especially with, I mean, I'm no expert on dogs, but I can just imagine that you get a bunch of inbred dogs that need to be trained a certain way, and people don't adopt them because they want to train dogs. They adopt them because they want a cute little animal that makes them feel better.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway, I guess the thing about the internet that excites me the most is the globalization aspect of it, which has such a double-edged sword because it's the thing that, globalization gives us terrible pandemics, and it also
Hmm.
allows me to build this app with somebody in Europe and Hawaii and in Japan all at the same time. I think that's incredible. And I built it so that, I mean, we built this, you helped me build this too. We built this so that people can connect around the world and talk about these things. It's
Yeah.
so I think that's what's really cool. But I think anybody who loves the internet as much as we do should also have a skeptical take on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at what we've done to it in the 30 years that we've been using it. Like, we've done some shit with it. Like, we have, first of all, made it run completely on advertisements. I mean, that's what do you think of that? What do you think of that?
I mean,
Curious.
as someone who was the social media voice for sausages and uh, other dog snacks and sodas and a football team.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, on the 16th floor of a skyscraper in New York City. All the way to like last night, going on TikTok and like, well, I guess to be a creator, you have to just turn the camera on and just give it your all the time around the clock and sort of tear yourself apart with your link in bio, with just hope and faith. Yeah, I mean, but it only works if it's hard. And yeah, I mean, how to fund it, right? I mean, I think I've asked this before on our podcast. It's like, who's going to fund the creative class, right? Who's going to fund me to listen to my inner voice and write it out and see who's interested in how it vibes? Like, it's indefensible from the economic mindset, but from a spiritual, communal, global mindset, it's like, well, what the world needs is people who figure out what it is to be human and to go be about it and change what it is to be human, because clearly we've gotten our species into a big trouble. And so you got to look inward and be critical and be original. And it's hard to do that when you're crushed by having to work multiple jobs and just play a very demanding game. I mean, succeeding in the workplace is so demanding existentially and emotionally. You sort of have to become sort of a monster to think what
I
it
know
is
I
to
became a
succeed
monster, yeah.
to think what it takes to succeed in an organization. You have to be a monster and a killer and ruthless
Or
and a bully.
you have to sacrifice your ethics, you know,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. The whole.
You sent me some quotations about entrepreneurism earlier today. I was thinking like, oh, this idea that in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to get used to eating dirt and
eating glass and looking into the abyss. That's an Elon Musk quote.
Eating glass and looking into the abyss, and like, yeah, I mean, like, I consider myself a shitty entrepreneur. Like,
don't sell yourself too much on this podcast, Geoff.
Well, let me explain why. It's because, like, it's not because I don't. It's because I can't be any other way. Like, I just don't have a choice. It's not that I chose. It's not that I set out and thought I'm going to be an entrepreneur and carve my own path. It was like, no, I just can't really work for anyone else. and like, and there's nobody like there's no job I can apply for and that works. Like, there's no specialization for what I think that I do other than what I do for me. So it's, I mean, you're the same way. Like, who are you going to be Jeff Lewis for?
That's the thing. It's like all of a sudden I become more committed to the internet because what I think about and how I speak doesn't really make sense, right? Like, you can't go to like a village in the Alps and like have strong opinions about Instagram. They don't care. So it's like, well, where can I go and speak my language? And I mean, I think that's what community religion ends up being, is like, well, who understands you? What language do you speak? And so it's like, that's why I'm so kind of committed to I mean, when I say our group, I mean, it's really people I know from Twitter, and it's like they're the ones, I speak their language.
Well, they're with you,
and they speak mine,
and like, they're pretty much with you all the time. In your darkest hour, there's a tweet waiting for you.
Yeah,
there's a like there at the end of the night, which is a warming thought, but it's also a chilling thought too.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's more that we have the same sensibility about the world as it is and what's possible, and a set of standards. Actually, back to the theme of last episode, right? I don't have an audience; I have a set of standards. So it's less that, you know, the people I have in mind listen to my every thought that I write and put out there, but it's more about, I know that they're going through the same thing and that we live in the same world with the same mind, and we're frustrated and unsatisfied in the same way, and we have the same dream and vision for the way the world could be and the way our lives could be. So it does very much remind me of like an early faith community. And yeah, I mean, computers and the internet being like the gospel. And, you know, we've got our Steve Jobs and our Stewart Brand and our Elon Musk and, you know, the saints. You know, we've got our gospels, right? And we gather every day to worship and to be. Um, and I mean, if there is a culture war, yeah, I mean, it's like the internet community is trying to now take over, like, you know, Google Maps and the houses and the companies and the countries. And I mean, you know how liquid it all is, right? I'll go out, people can go out there and tweet their craziest thoughts, and it's like you can build a community, and you know, I mean, and cryptocurrency is your world too. Like it's all possible, and it's all just, can you get attention? Do people believe you? And do you believe in cooperation and resisting stupid power, incompetent power that does not deserve power?
And it's all part of the sediment that we're laying down right now too, which is just the weirdest thing. We're building a
Well,
we're building a foundation of memes.
yeah, you sort of had me forget that we're recording this, and it's like, oh damn, like I really did say it, and now it really is going to be content, and it really is going to be you and me who said it, and it's like, oh damn, like we are real people. Yeah, we did it. We're in it.
We're in it.
And yeah, I mean, it makes discipline that much more meaningful. Where it's like, well, yes, we can get 30,000 foot view and get very visionary and cosmic and eternal and kind of psychedelic about it all, about the future. But then it's like, well, chop wood, carry water. We got to
It
come back to the clock. Got
it
to
is
come
about
back to.
discipline, isn't it? It is about discipline. There's this. So I actually used to um, a group I used to run with on the interwebs. It was actually a group of entrepreneurs, and one of their catchphrases was, or one of the things that they would always say is, "Take action, take action, take action," over and over again, because the the death of the entrepreneur is not taking action, is not actually putting one foot forward. It's to sit there and wait.
To
It's
wait.
analysis paralysis is what they would call it. Uh, and, uh, and you can do that. You used to be able to do that in the old world. Like you could actually have an amazing life if you are a white male, and you just put one foot in front of the other barely, or even didn't, just had somebody do it for you. Of course, you had to be a white male in order for that to happen.
Damn.
But now, yeah, now you've got to figure out the thing that you've got to do next. It's all about I don't know. I was thinking how much the pandemic has affected all of this. It was already happening, but the pandemic put a magnifying glass on it, and now I used to be a musician. I used to make records, and I used to play shows, and I used to perform and tour and all this stuff. And now, what is being a musician? It's having an Instagram account that you upload videos of yourself playing 15 seconds of a song that might not even be yours, and then you get 530,000 people to follow you because they think your clothes are cool or something. And like that's what a musician is like for our children's generation.
Oh man.
That's what it's gonna be. And like I have to be okay with that. I can't like, or do I have to be romantic about back when we actually used to get together in a room and play music together? I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
Do I
yeah, I'm.
embrace the old man in me, the out of touch old man?
Well,
I can't
music.
do it anymore. I'm a music composer, and I realized that I kind of wanted to do something different because what I wanted to put out into the world is I'm always going to be creating. I'm always going to be writing music. I'm always going to be making art, but I don't think that I have the drive to, and I don't have the incentive. I don't have the drive or the incentive to create that type of content. I either need to find a unique thing, I either need to figure out how to create art using the internet, or I'm just going to keep doing the same thing that I taught myself to do 20 years ago, which doesn't really have a place on the internet today. So it's like, it actually takes a lot of effort, as you know, because you sat in that office building on the whatever 30th floor in New York and created that. You were the voice of sausages. So
Well, yeah, I mean, typing on a MacBook Pro um, in fun, sweet, creative, interesting ways is a lot different than, I mean, the pics you've showed me of your music career, of like being in the crowd, sweating, sleeves rolled up, hair wet, marred across your face, like giving it out, right? I mean,
oh my God, giving it
that,
out. Yeah.
like that's, you can smell it. Like you can taste it. You can feel the vibration off of it.
We'd all have
Um,
coronavirus if we were right now.
I
Yeah.
know, I know.
Can't do it anymore. Yeah. But
Yeah,
what's the internet version of that? Like what's the Twitter version of
yeah,
about to pass out on the floor with a
yeah.
microphone in front of
I
your
mean,
face?
I've seen. I mean, so I've started to play with TikTok a bit, and it's jarring in that it invites you to just completely lose yourself, to just do your nastiest shadow work and just confrontation with your multiple selves and just completely self-actualize and burn completely and like disappear and give it away as a little 1 minute clip. Or of course you can
Yeah.
then do that all as practice and figure out, well, what are the voices in my head and how can I turn it into a skit? And I mean, and it's like to create something and to put it out is A, to need to do it, but B, it's a profound act of remembrance and of trying to make sense of what you are and where you come from. And it's almost the way to create the way forward, which I think is why Picasso said the creator creates to get out of hell. That might have been someone else also, but I mean, it's a common idea. I mean, Glenn Close, the actor, she says, all great art comes from outrage. And it does. I mean, it's outrage at the fact that that art is not made. But it's also like, I refuse, the world needs to be pushed along. And so you go
Yeah.
and you do your primal scream.
Well, it's the taking action part that gets pretty hard when you don't know exactly what to do and everything becomes an experiment, because it took a lot of work. Like it's there's pouring your soul into a performance, but then there's this puzzle that you have to do before all that. You have to figure out how to figure out how to play the musical instrument in the first place. Then you have to figure out how to get a show or get people to listen to your music or whatever that dances that you have to do that has very little emotional aspect to it at first. I feel like you have to relearn that entire thing when you're an artist on the internet. You have to do that puzzle, and there's not a lot of emotion in it at first because there isn't a bunch of people on the other side ready to give you credit for it. Because even whether you realize it or not, I think all artists are looking for. I mean, we've talked about this before, but like we're looking for feedback from the world. I think that most of us are. I wish that we weren't. I think platonically we're not. I think we actually just want to sit in our little Schrodinger's boxes and create stuff and draw in coloring books or whatever. But I think in order for us to enjoy that puzzle process, we need to know that we're creating it for somebody.
Well, I mean, there's the notion of 10,000 hours and that you have to love the process of getting better. And yeah, and it's like, I don't necessarily want to watch a stranger suck a guitar, right? Again, there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do between, who I may watch on Instagram because they're trying hard and they're pretty good and they've got a good stage presence and it's interesting, versus Eddie Van Halen's guitar solo that goes for minutes and his style and how it shakes, it blows you out of your own consciousness. When you watch him, it's like taking a strong drug. The walls of what you are go away. They blast out to the edges, and you are gone, and you are the music, and you are him, and it's a love experience.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
it's
a spiritual
emerging.
experience for sure. Yeah.
Yes. And then you are returned to your body when the lights come on at the end of the show, and you're dazed, and you don't know what happened, and you walk out. Yeah, that you don't really get on Instagram, because
No.
it's because we're more than 3-dimensional beings. We're probably 4 or 5 or more dimensional beings. A phone is 2 dimensions. It's 6 inches by 2.5 or 3 inches, or even the 15-inch MacBook Pro, where I've spent, I can't really remember my life before it. Yeah, it's
It's two-dimensional. Yeah.
seeing someone believing in themselves, bringing everything they've got to the performance. Much like a martial artist will hit you with their whole life, I think a really good artist brings their entire self-actualization process onto that stage.
I know a lot of artists that I think they enjoy the process of creating stuff for Instagram and Twitter. Like, I know, but I think most of them I think most of them are pretty aware of their audience. I want to say that they're not, that they're just doing what they do, but I think most of them are pretty aware. Like, they get a dopamine hit when they hit post, you know? And that's something that I'm not super familiar with. Maybe it's because I don't have a lot of followers, but I've never felt that, like, I mean, everyone wants more attention on what they're doing, and I know that objectively.
They want it, and eventually you learn that that's not what you want, or
Yeah.
that it
Well,
doesn't do anything,
I
because
don't.
you wake up
Yeah.
and you're the same person.
I've never really, like, I've never really gone after that as an objective, I guess. And I don't know why. I think maybe it's a self-consciousness thing. Maybe partly afraid that maybe people wouldn't care, and so all of my effort would be wasted. But also, I think, I mean, that's not giving myself any credit, really. I think it's more like I never saw it as, that was not the art to me. That's not what I was doing this for in the beginning. That's not the reason I learned to play guitar. It's not the reason that I create anything. And yet, at a certain point, it does sort of take over. I mean, like the photos of me performing live, for instance, where I'm playing with a bunch of people. Part of the reason that those shows are great is because there's a lot of people there. A lot of people that are singing along. Those shows were a lot different when nobody was in the audience, and we played a lot of those too, like to nobody. And we still did it, and we still had fun. But I have fun when I create content for the internet and nobody comments on it or likes it. I know that you do too. I don't know if fun's the right word, but you do it. But
it's important.
I think that for me, it's like, it's hard for me to attach the discipline to that, to kind of like crank it out, unless there's something about it that I appreciate the process of making it, like this podcast, for instance. I could do this forever.
Yeah.
Even if nobody ever paid attention to it.
I mean, you said before, maybe 1 or 2 calls ago, that like writing tweets for you is work you don't necessarily want to do, and that sort of surprised me. But
sometimes it is. Yeah, sometimes it is. But that's because I have it written down on my to-do list, because because if I don't do that, then sometimes, like, days will go by when I don't even think about it, because I want to be very irresponsible. I don't want to have to think about how I'm going to communicate with the 500 followers I have. Like, I don't want to think about that.
Well, plus only like 12 of them will really read it.
Yeah. So for me, it's like I'm not even thinking about that as a canvas, really. Like sometimes,
Yeah.
if my head is in that space, but my head isn't in any space. My head. I mean,
That's a good little pull quote. Make that the
it's
title
not.
of this episode. My head isn't in any space.
I mean, it's not. My head is only really in my space when I'm sitting in front of my piano.
Ooh,
So it's
yeah.
like, and it's like, when I'm doing that,
Also,
I don't think about turning on my camera. I just don't. You know?
well, I think being a creator, and I think it's the same for being an entrepreneur, is like I mean, for me, Twitter is like bacterial. It's like breathing. It's like a collaborative experience with
Yeah. To
me
me, it's yeah.
and becoming seen. And just
Huh.
like I want what's going on inside of me to become a thing on the internet, even if nobody reads it. But like it's important for me to be putting it out. And I don't know why I do this. I don't know why that became my life and who I am, but it is.
Yeah. I'm just not there. Maybe I need a hard reset, and I just need I need like I need to reinstall Twitter in my brain or something.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, thinking out loud, thinking in public, I think is very important to do. Right now, you were around, right? You've got some years on me that I often forget. You know, you were around for blogging. That
yeah, and
may
I
have,
didn't do it, but I was around for it, right?
but you watch. I mean, I really only kind of dialed into the internet probably as a reader like
Ooh.
2008,
We
2009. I
we
was
had a
still
thing
so
called
young. I graduated college 2009. I was still very young.
yeah, we had a thing called Live Journal.
Hmm.
Live Journal. That was the original place to blog. It's basically you just write your diary on the internet.
Well, I mean, it could be that again. I mean, that's sort of what I do on Twitter. I've done it on Tumblr. I've done it on Medium. I've done it on Substack. I've done it on Patreon. It's like the blinking cursor has been around. I mean, that's what the thing is. I mean, again, it's like we have to always keep in mind that we've maybe not gone anywhere in 12,000 years. We maybe have not come further than the cave painting and come into my cave, which is
It
now look at my profile,
yeah,
click my links.
you definitely would have been a Live Journal user for sure in 2001.
Wow. 2001. I mean, that
Look,
I was a freshman in high school.
yeah, look
And
up Live Journal.
I mean, I
Free
remember
blogger.
AOL Instant Messenger. It's like that's sort of the extent of what the internet was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we would do, yeah, I mean, Yahoo search. I mean, we were making mixtapes. I mean, like I was downloading MP3s from Napster and Kazaa and LimeWire and like making CDs with my friends.
Yeah, so the first this is funny because this is the way I think of like Clubhouse now. So in like 1996, when I first discovered the internet, everyone used AOL. It wasn't called Instant Messenger. It was just AOL chat rooms basically, where
Hmm.
everyone wanted to have cyber and and know how old you were
Cyber
and
ASL.
whether
Yeah.
you're a guy or a girl and,
Mm-hmm.
and where
Age,
you live,
sex, location. Yeah.
age, sex, location, and
ASL. Yeah.
and like that I mean it's funny because that's just what Clubhouse is to me right now. It's
Yeah.
age, sex, location, and and something, I don't know, something intellectual about you or whatever. But
Well, yeah.
it's the same kind of thing. It's like everybody meet up in this room, none of us know each other, you could be completely lying about who you are, but that's okay, who cares. And
Well,
at the time when I was 16, I wasn't thinking let's make art with this, but man should I have, because it would have been such a great platform.
mm, well, yeah. Some people make art with it. Some people sell stuff with it. Um, some people learn with it. Some people teach with it. I mean, much like a drug, it just makes you more of what you are.
But I think
Um,
a question that a lot of people should ask all the time is, can I make art with this? I mean, I
Hmm.
kind of, if I could go live my life over again, I would just try to ask that every day.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and we got to remember back to many earlier conversations where we said art just means like to do. It's like to do anything is
Yeah.
art. And yeah, I mean, most people don't really know, not that they don't know how to think about art, but they don't think about it in the very vital way you and I probably do. But I think you live in the world long enough, and especially when politics and climate is so bad, it's like, well, you learn real quick that without music, uh, it's not a good time. And without painting and without actors and without comedians, um, without poetry, without romance, without love, like that's all art. That's what, medicine, law, business, engineering are not. It's what the workday is not. It's what job applications and getting denied and waiting to be picked and performing for a boss and making something to spec so that it
Waiting to
hits the
get
bottom
picked.
line.
Waiting to get picked. All right, I've got to wrap it up.
All right.
This was a good talk though. I like where this one went.
Yeah.
Got some shit out. That's good.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been a week or two since we've done this. So
I know. Yeah. Life's been wild.
yeah.
Well, here, let's end it there and then